Expected points, clean sheet odds, captaincy, and players to buy. This video has got all the information you need to know for Game Week 24. Alright, we're going to start off this video as I do with all the videos in the Ultimate Guide series. I'm going to go through the top players for expected points by position, starting off with the goalkeepers. Alisson is the top goalkeeper for expected points according to DraftHound. 4.1 expected points he's expected to get against Burnley. Petrovic, the Chelsea keeper, is in second place. Crystal Palace away, decent fixture for Chelsea. Martinez, Man United at home, that's an interesting one. Obviously, Villa have got a really good record at Villa Park. Luckily kept a clean sheet against Sheffield United, although it was pretty close. Will they keep a clean sheet against Man United? I'm not too sure. But he is really good for saves bonus, so he's not a bad shout. Raya's up there. Kaminsky, who with Sheffield United at home in Game Week 24, a double game week in Game Week 25, and potentially an additional double game week in 28 or 29. He could actually be a really nice option. Ederson, Jose Sarr, Leno, Dubravka, and Neto are your other top keepers. Defenders now, and a return from injury means a return in the #1 spot for defenders for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Burnley at home is his fixture, obviously similarly to Alisson being the top goalkeeper. He's largely expected to keep a clean sheet in that game, and obviously we all know his attacking upsides. Doty for Luton's up there as well. He's got some fantastic attacking upside, and of course a really nice fixture. Same sort of benefits come with him as do Kaminsky, who I just spoke about. You know, a double game week in 25 and a potential additional double in 28 or 29. Virgil van Dijk's up there as well. Gabriel, I mean, he's always near the top of the list. Joe Gomez, who seems to be playing regularly for Liverpool, though 4.5 million looks a good price, but with Robertson, Trent and Bradley in the wings, I'm not sure he's going to start too many games for Liverpool going forwards. Zinchenko's up there, although he did get subbed at half-time against Liverpool for Kivior. Ake, Pedro Porro, Robertson and White are your top defenders. Onto the midfield. With no Salah and Son, we get some interesting options in there for top expected points. Saka is the top midfielder currently for expected points with his fixture against West Ham away. I mean, West Ham not looking very good at the moment. I do think he could do well in that one. Richarlison in fantastic form, obviously playing up front for Spurs at the moment. They haven't had a penalty without Son in the side, but I would really raise the question, does Richarlison take the penalties? I think he probably does. He's a really nice option. Unfortunately, doesn't double and does have a blank in Game Week 26, but I really like him as an option. Personally, I don't have him in my team, and I regret it. Diogo Jota's up there. I think he could be a fantastic option with double Game Week 25 in mind. Cole Palmer, Mr. Consistent in FPL this season. Great from open play on penalties. Probably Chelsea's best player. Still under 6 million as well, which is, of course, just ridiculous value. Kevin De Bruyne and Foden. Man City have got Everton at home. A pretty decent fixture. I back them to score well in that one. Luis Diaz, Ross Barkley, obviously playing really well for Luton, and Luton having a really strong fixture. If he starts, Jeremy Doku's up there, and Anthony Gordon as well, though we need to keep an eye on Gordon because he limped off at half-time against Luton, and he left the stadium on crutches, so it could be an injury for Gordon, one to keep an eye on. I'm just going to caveat the top forwards quickly. I'm recording this one ahead of the Man City and Brentford game, so most of the other players you've seen on this list previously, they've already played their fixture in Game Week 23, so that's factored in the expected points algorithm for 24. Obviously, Man City haven't played. Alvarez is #1, Haaland #3. I'd suggest that if Alvarez either gets benched or doesn't do as well as Haaland in Game Week 23, we could see Haaland rise the ranks of the expected points. But I still think it's valid to look at the expected points regardless, right? So Alvarez currently is the top striker for expected points, followed by Ollie Watkins, Erling Haaland, Darwin Núñez, who I really like, to be honest. I know he got benched against Arsenal. When he came on, he still looked like giving, the Arsenal defence some issues. Gabriel made a foul on him towards the end of the game, which he could well have got sent off for. Tony's up there. I really like Tony as an option. Adebayo, Cunha, who's in really, really good form for Wolves. Højlund, another striker in really good form. Jesus, who unfortunately didn't play against Liverpool. And Werner's up there as well. I'm not sure. He's 1% owned at the moment. I'm not sure you can pick Werner at the moment, considering the quality of other strikers out there. But yeah, these guys are your top forwards. Captaincy then, and there's one glaring omission from me here. Haaland doesn't appear in the top 5 players for expected points. I've got my captaincy on him for game week 23, so I think Haaland, as long as he starts in 23, we get good news he's going to play in 24. I think he's probably the best captain. The expected points algorithm haven't quite caught up with his minutes or how he does in game week 23 yet, so this might change throughout the week in terms of draft time. So I'd personally, Tom's personal pick, I'd say Haaland's the best captain. Alvarez is still a decent option. I think he's proven at the start of the season that he can play alongside Haaland, right? And he's in really, really good form. So I think regardless of what happens in game week 23, he's a good option. Saka's up there, Richarlison, Jota and Watkins. You know, given that Haaland's still returning from injury, even if he does well in game week 23, you know, you could feasibly captain one of these other guys as well. I don't really have, to be honest, looking at these 5 players on screen, I don't really have a preference. I think all of them are really good. I would just say, personally, I like to stick the armband on a penalty taker. Didn't quite work out for me in game week 23 so far with Watkins doing really well without penalties. But I do feel like having a penalty taker as your captain, they always have another string to their bow, right, and another opportunity that they can score a goal from. So it's just one thing I like to consider when choosing my captain. Next up then, and the final bit of stats from draft time, we've got the clean sheet odds for the game week. Man City top the list. They're 52% likely to keep a clean sheet at Everton at home. Liverpool in second place, 50% likely to keep a clean sheet against Burnley. Arsenal on 42. Luton on 40. Chelsea 38. Crystal Palace away. Crystal Palace looking a bit light at the moment. And, well, Eze and Elise being injury doubts, they could well keep a clean sheet in that one. Newcastle 33, Wolves 33, Villa 29, Fulham 29, Tottenham 27. Usually, any teams below 30%, I don't really like to back a clean sheet from. I do think Villa at home could keep a clean sheet against anyone. They seem to really step things up at home, as we've seen this season. Tottenham, not sure they'll keep a clean sheet against Brighton, but Brighton have been conceding a heck of a lot of goals this season, so I'd back the likes of Porro and Udogie to still be able to get some attacking returns, but yeah, anything outside of those, I'd be scared to start their defenders from. Right, before we look at players to buy, I went through this on my buy and avoid video, but it's really important to be cognizant of the fixtures we've got coming up, right? When you're making a transfer in FPL, you need to really think 3 to 5 game weeks ahead of time, rather than just making a transfer for one game week, right? We've had double game week 25 officially announced on Twitter by FPL. At the time of recording this video, it hasn't actually been added to the game yet, but considering they tweeted it, I think we can pretty much, you know, guarantee that it's going to happen. This fixture grid is courtesy of Ben Krellin on Twitter. He's a fantastic source for fixture news, and he predicted the double game week in 25, right? So Brentford, Man City, Luton and Liverpool all have a double game week in 25. So it makes sense to be looking at those options from those teams when considering who to buy, right? Unfortunately, though, some of those teams have a blank in 26. So Luton, Liverpool, Tottenham and Chelsea all blank in game week 26. So by making your transfers in mind, obviously look to make as many points as you can from the double game week, but also be cognizant that you also have to field an 11 in 26, right? So yeah, you got to bear that blank in mind. I mentioned when going through the Luton players before, game week 27 and 28 could be a double game week for Luton. Their fixture against Bournemouth needs to be rearranged, right? It's looking like the most likely time that's going to happen is game week 28, which could mean a potential triple captaincy option for Dominic Solanke, right? He could well play Sheffield United and Luton both at home in a double game week if they were to play in 28. And regardless of that, 27 could be Burnley and Luton, right? So Solanke, if he gets a double in 27 or 28, could be a triple captaincy shout. Alongside, of course, Haaland, maybe Salah in 25 as well. So yeah, I think there are a couple of triple captaincy options basically in the coming fixtures. Game week 29 is going to be a big blank. That's for teams that make it through to the FA Cup, well, quarterfinals, I believe. That's when the FA Cup quarterfinals will be played out. That's not confirmed yet because teams haven't finished their 4th or 5th round fixtures yet, right? So we need to see how that works. Currently, though, there are a few teams guaranteed to play. Brentford, Burnley, Fulham and Tottenham will all have their fixture on in game week 29. Now, with that double game week in 25 in mind, you might be considering bringing Mo Salah back into your team at some point. I know he's injured at the moment, but he could well be back for game week 25. And I just want to say, I don't think it's a clear-cut call as to whether he's a good option. You know, that double game week in 25, in terms of the pros at least, is obviously confirmed, right? And he is a triple captain option for that game week, no doubt about it. He's back running in training, and I think he should be fit for the double. And, of course, he's putting up some fantastic numbers this season. However, he's returning from a hamstring injury, right? There are hundreds of footballers, right, who have had niggling, consistent hamstring injuries throughout their career. And I think the Liverpool medical staff will be really careful to manage Salah and make sure that he comes back only when he's fully fit. And when you look at the schedule of fixtures that Liverpool have, they've obviously got the double in 25, so they'll play on the weekend, midweek, and then they've got the Carabao Cup final the weekend after. With all those things in mind, you know, do you feasibly think Salah is going to play both of the games of a double in 25 the week before the Carabao Cup final after returning from a hamstring injury, right? I don't know. I mean, things will probably play out through the next couple of weeks when we'll get a bit more news on his injury and maybe a bit of confidence that that will be the case. But I just think he's going to be managed coming back from a hamstring injury. The last thing Liverpool want to do is create a long-term hamstring issue for Mo Salah, right? Literally their best player, one of the best players on the planet. I just think his minutes are going to be managed quite carefully. And particularly, I know they lost to Arsenal, right? But in games gone by, they've not been short of goals without him in the team. They've still been playing well. Yeah, with all those things considered, he could well be a good option. But I do think you just need to think twice before transferring him in. I do think Doty is a decent shout alongside the Luton keeper Kaminsky as well. Doty in particular, he's been playing in a really attacking position throughout the whole season. He's probably Luton's best and one of their most important players. And, you know, regardless of, you know, he's only kept 2 clean sheets in 18 starts, right? But Luton, their goal scoring has been fantastic this season, even against the top sides. When you count up all his returns, goals, assists and clean sheets, what's that? That's 10 returns this season from 18 starts for a 4.5 million defender. I think that's really, really nice. He's obviously got the double in 25. He might also double again in game week 28 and 29. So I'd say Doty and the Luton keeper Kaminsky are definitely worth considering. When you think of the Liverpool starting 11 for game week 25, I think there could well be quite a bit of rotation across their 2 fixtures. A few players I think will be safe. I definitely think Alisson is going to play both. Virgil van Dijk will probably start both games. Trent, this guy here, will probably start both games. Outside of that, probably some of their centre midfielders as well, but you wouldn't really want to pick them in FPL. Outside of those guys, I'm not sure you can guarantee any of the rest of the team to definitely play both games in double game week 25. I just really like Trent for that reason. And when you tot up all his returns across this season, similar to what I did with Doty just before, he's had 13 returns from 18 starts so far this season, right? And you can definitely say Liverpool have improved defensively. Obviously, put the Arsenal game aside, you know, across the season so far, they've been a lot better defensively than the previous season. I also think with Bradley playing so well, he could play at right back, allowing Trent to play in the midfield, and that might mean he gets even more attacking returns than he has been so far. I just think with all those, you know, minutes risks around the Liverpool players in mind, I just think Trent is a really solid option now, particularly considering they have a double in 25. You've of course just got to be cognizant about their blank in 26. Now, I can't sing Ivan Toney's praises enough. I know I'm taking a little bit of a risk talking about him before he's played Man City in game week 23, but he should get through that game fine, right? You can laugh at me in the comments if he gets injured or sent off or something, but he's genuinely one of the best forwards in the league, right? He's nailed to start for Brentford on penalties, free kicks, so he takes the free kicks with no Mbumo in the side. He's got a double game week in 25, no blank in 26, and he also has a fixture in game week 29. I'd also say he's relatively fixture-proof as well. I think Brentford did the double over Man City last season. They won both fixtures. Toney, I think, scored a brace at the Etihad. And he scored 20 goals last season for Brentford, right? And I don't mean any disrespect to Brentford, but they're a pretty average Premier League team. And for him to score 20 goals in that squad last season is remarkable. In this season, before, of course, he's played in game week 23, he's got 2 starts on him. 2 goals and 1 assist. 3 attacking returns from 2 starts, right? After returning from 8 months of being banned. I think he's a great option. I mentioned fixture proofness because that double game week in 25 involved Liverpool and Man City. I wouldn't rule him out scoring in those games either. I know there's a plethora of forwards in the game at the moment. So many that you could choose from. I just wouldn't look past Ivan Toney. He is one of the safest picks in the game, in my opinion. Yeah, sod's law that he either gets sent off, misses a penalty, or gets injured or something in game week 23. I'm deliberately leaving these players until the end just because you can skip over them all if they do, you know, something happens to them in Game Week 23, right? But obviously, Haaland is a good option if you don't have him already. He's probably the best asset in the game at the moment, considering that Salah and Son are, you know, out of action. I think he's a fantastic option. He's got the best expected points over the next 5 game weeks. He's obviously got his double in 25. Genuine triple captaincy opportunity, I think. As I said, with no Salah or Son available, most people have the cash to go back to him. Burnley at home to warm him up was the perfect fixture. Brentford away, he could do well in that one. And then I think Everton, he'd probably start that game if he doesn't play in 23. I just really like him as an option, right? And if you don't have him already, I'd be making a plan to get him back in. Now, I spoke about Salah early on and the kind of risks around him, obviously blanking in 26, being a potential injury risk for 25. De Bruyne, I think, ticks a lot more boxes than Salah, particularly over the next 4 or 5 game weeks. He's obviously one of Man City's most important players. Yes, I think his minutes might be managed in Game Week 25, but probably only as much as Salah's are. And then he plays in Game Week 26. So I think with all those things considered, I think De Bruyne might be a better option than Salah, certainly for the next 3 or 4 game weeks at least. He's likely as well to double again later on this season. And I think he's putting up great numbers for the minutes he's played. It's obviously not quite as good as Salah, and his returns across the season will probably be more weighted towards assists than goals, just because he plays a slightly deeper position. But you can't deny Kevin De Bruyne as an FPL option. And I think the fact, if you consider the fact that he plays a game in Game Week 26, it might fit the structure of your squad better. For that reason, I think he could well be a better option than Mo Salah. Alright, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, please let me know by leaving a like rating on the video. I took a bit of a risk talking about Tony and 2 Man City players there before they even played in Game Week 23. So if that backfires on me, I've left until the end. I'll probably cut it out by the time this video actually goes up if that's the case. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. Subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just there. And I will catch you in my next video.